Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day, Simranjeet. That was such a beautiful introduction, and I'm thankful to Toastmaster Rohan for inviting me today. And it's a great pleasure seeing all of you here, and I'm sure we are going to be mindful as we go along. Let me get you right into the game. How is this module going to be structured? First thing first, and I must admit it to you, because it is a table topics module, something that you're not very prepared. So we are going to play it by the ear. And when we are going to do that, it means I will not have any PowerPoint slides. Anyway, who needs more PowerPoint slides? Now that last 2 years we have been on Zoom and webinars, I think we have had enough of PowerPoint slides. So I'm going to have a low-tech version of PowerPoint slides. Let me show you how it will go on. And this module is going to be divided into two parts. Face it. Okay, I think I'll remove my background so that it's more visible. Yes. All right. So face it. So we are going to see how we face it. And later on, we'll talk about how we ace it. Now that we have begun on a note of mindfulness, I want to ask you a question. How focused? So how focused are you today in this module? So anywhere between 1 and 7, you can type in your answer in the chat, 1 being least focused and 7 being the most. So let me see the numbers coming. Okay, I see 6 and 7 and okay. So lots of 7 has come up. That's great. Wow, 5, 6, 7. All right. So now what I want to ask you is to hit the number that you have chosen. To get to that number, if there's one thing that you want to change in your surrounding, maybe like open your curtains or close your door or turn your phone away or keep it away, whatever it is, I'll let you do that. Okay, I can feel things happening. I can see it inside my mind that a lot of things are happening here. All right. So now I'm sure and hopeful that you'll hit the number that you wanted to. Now let's get into the game. So what's happening when we come to a table topics session? When the table topic master is there, I feel that lots of things start to happen to us. The heart starts fluttering and we are anxious. What happens to you? I'm very curious. You can put in a chat one word that tells me what happens to you before you come on stage. Okay, thinking mode, I'm scared. All right, fear, yes, rightly said. Excited, yes. You don't know what's, yeah, heart starts beating really fast. That does happen, yes. All right, yes, not able to structure the, plethora of thoughts, wow. So that is even before the topic has been announced, you're sweating, you're excited to be called onto stage. Wow, lots of things happening right there. And then you walk onto the stage and things change. So let's talk about what happens before you come on the stage, and then we'll talk about how we do it when we come onto the stage. I would like you to write the word that what you are, what it is that is what's happening. So you are scared means I am not what? So can you write like I'm not ready or I am not, if it is something like scared and sweating, what is it that you're not okay? So you're not capable. Okay, that's I'm not confident. I see some, okay, okay, I'm not, okay, wow, okay. So someone here is not afraid, not scared, and unprepared, not unprepared. Okay, great, I like that. For many of us who have not yet reached the DTM level and haven't faced the table topics yet, I feel the pressure. So you're not relaxed. What I would like to give you today is one powerful technique, one powerful tool, let me call it. And this tool, you're going to apply it even before you walk onto the stage or on the virtual podium, even before we are there or before we raise our hands. This is the tool that you are going to use. It's very simple, just 3 letters. Table topics, you get 2 minutes, so our tools can't be long. So the tool is, oops, here is the tool. I want you to add this simple word at the end of I am not confident yet. I'm not capable yet. I'm not ready yet. How does it change your mindset? From I'm not to I'm not there yet. All right. So yet I can nail it. There is an interesting comment. That is interesting. I'm not confident yet I can nail it. Very nice. I like that attitude. So if we change our mindset to something like this, that this is not where I'm yet, it keeps us open that I will get there. With that, coming onto the stage becomes a tiny bit more easier. Now that we are on stage, what happens? The table topic master is going to give you the topic. And the topic is a lot of words. Boyzone's song, I remember from 1993 because I'm from that generation, and he used to sing this song. It's only words. I hope many of you can identify with this song. It was a great hit at that time. So what do? We simply grab the words. Our mind is racing, but we need to grab the words. Be it any topic. Let's first look out for some words that make sense to us. And this part is when we are facing the table topic. We are new to table topic. We do not know how to tackle it. So what we do is we say, I'm not there yet, but I will. And you go on, you listen carefully, you be mindful, and you listen actively, grab at the words. When you get some words, what do we do next is look out for association. Now, when you look at someone says a bulb, what do you think of? A bulb, maybe idea for someone. If I say bread, what is the next word that comes to you? Butter. If I say night, what comes to you? Okay, bread, butter, toast, night, day. So many things are coming. So hold on to something that comes. Take that word. That's good start. You have something to say. You're not going to go blank. No matter what the topic is, give it a shot. Your brain is going to give you something. If they talk about bread, you can start talking about butter. That's fine. You have something to speak and it is related. So that's going to be fine. The next thing is, once you've been coming on stage, you've tried it, they give you a topic, like, for example, the topic like the grass is greener on the, not on the other side, but the side that you water it. Too big and too complicated. Grass, green, maybe you want to talk about grasshoppers. And what does the word grasshopper mean for you? What does the word make you feel? For me, grasshopper might be my childhood, when I used to play outside, when I used to run around and feel joyful. So no matter what the topic was, I grabbed grass. I got grasshopper and I felt happy. Now I have a story. I have a story from my childhood. So I want you to tell the story. This is the time that you tell a story, and don't tell any story, tell your story. So tell the grasshopper story, or tell the grass stain story, that when you ran around, fell down, came to your mother, and she gave you a big scolding for always coming back home with muddy pants. So be it, it's your story. And because it is yours, you don't need to bring it from anywhere. Often, many times I've seen very earnest Toastmasters who come up with stories of Elon Musk, who come up with stories of Steve Jobs. They're not your stories. Sometimes we try to fit them. I have nothing against these great guys. I really adore them. And I wish I could be like one of those guys. But when we are telling our story, it has a different flavor. It is unique. It is yours. Nobody's heard of it before, unless, of course, they are your spouses. You know what happens then. So, and when you are telling your story, you are there, you're telling a story. Who are you telling your story to? That matters a lot too. You are on the stage, you are scared, but you have a story, you have your story. Now think of the audience. Who is the audience? Who do you like to tell stories most to? If you're a parent like me, or if you become one, you would end up telling lots and lots of stories to your children. And if you don't have children and you have your friends' children or some relatives, nieces, you will be telling them. So when children listen to stories, they are hooked. And we adults are none other but those grown-up children. So once you start a story, you have their attention. The only thing is make the audience your friend. If you think of them as hostile, you will not be able to open up and tell your story. Now tell me one thing. If I get stuck now and start going blank or stuttering, how many of you will laugh at me? Like, look at her. She's there and she's, oh my God, the module master is stuck. Or how many of you would think, oh my God, I wish she recovers, she is back on her feet and she can complete this module. Raise your hand if you think you'll laugh it off and say, oh, what a joke it was. Okay, now raise your hand if you really wish I would recover and you would root for me. Great, lovely. See, that's what the audience is really like. Today, I'm here in a very totally new setting, not at the Toastmaster I have met before, and I just took this bet, but I know it. We as human beings always root for one another. When there is a person alone showing up on the stage, we're always rooting for them. So when you are there and your friends are rooting for you, doesn't matter because they're all looking at you to say that word, to say that story and make some connection, no matter how you make it. So tell your story to your friends. Tell your story to your friends. When you tell a story to your friends or when you tell a story to your children, how do you begin? How does your face look like? Does it look like this? It never does look like that. When we are talking with our friends, we are always smiling. And this is something that I talk to my children all the time in Cool Presenters. And this is a small batch, I show it to them. Is it visible? The smiley? Yeah. So don't forget to wear the smile when you walk into the stage and you need to speak. Before you speak, smile. That's going to make friends. And you look around and you smile, grab those words while any word that comes in, you are making association. You start thinking about that. What's the emotion? What's the story? You got it. You start building on it. But don't forget, the smile is important. The smile is telling other person that you're interested in them, that you respect them. When you're frowning and like, okay, I don't really care about you guys, but I have to be here. But if I care about you, if I'm giving you a story, if I'm giving you an experience from my life, a gift, I'm smiling, I'm happy about it. And I'm sure that the receiver will be happy and ready to receive it. So that is one technique. Never forget it. Go with a smile. When you are on stage, don't forget to smile. You are smiling, you are telling a story to your friends. The storytelling technique is same as prepared speech. It's just that you're doing it on your feet, playing it by the ear. But when you are a table topic speaker, you eat a sandwich. We always eat a sandwich in Toastmasters, be it evaluation, be it speeches. Opening, the first bread, and then the meat or the vegetables, tomatoes and lettuce and butter or cheese, and then the last bread. So you open and then you have the really juicy thing inside, and then you close it very neatly. Many times, a lot of people, what they do is they tell the juicy thing before, they tell the whole point before, and then nothing later comes. If you had the topping on top and just two breads beneath, it doesn't taste so good. So make it a sandwich. You start, you can hook the audience, you can ask questions, but the juicy bits will come, will follow. And then when you end up, you put another layer, the message is given, you conclude like any prepared speeches. And this structure will be in your head as you speak. You will know the time is ticking. And all this will only happen when we are there again and again. That as a timer in our body clock, it will tell us before the green comes up that I'm here, I'm halfway here, I've told my story. Now let me tell what it really means to me. And let me ask what it means to you. That's all. When you have your story, you just jump into the story, you try to tie it with the theme that the topic is about. And in the conclusion, you can ask the people, what does it mean to you? And there you leave the sandwich and they are chewing on it. And they're thinking, what does it mean for me? How is it applicable to me? And once the sandwich is ready, you are already there 2 minutes at least. You've spoken for 2 minutes and you have been there and faced it. Now comes the part of acing it. These techniques will help you or any newcomer to a club to come, raise your hand, go there and try on to table topics. But then we go to contests, and this is something we passionate Toastmasters are really more passionate about, going into contests and proving it to ourselves and getting better at it. So how do we ace it? This part, I have to tell you, the secret is simply face it to ace it. And the secret is so simple. You have to just be there, face it many times, be there, and you will ace it. And another very important thing that came much earlier in the theme was being mindful. It's super important, I will say. It's been for me. In my experience, the first time that I went to district, the mindset that I was in, and the second time that I went to the district, the mindset I was in, changed the whole lot of game. If you're more mindful, if you're composed, if you're calm, if you're observing things, you might have an example right from around you that will match with the topic. In 2019, for me, the topic was that pearls are not found on the seaside. Pearls are not found on the seaside. And that day, I was wearing a pearl necklace. I remembered during my speech that I have something here. And as a prop, I just raised it and it totally elevated the speech. Had I not been sure about what I was wearing, I would have probably not used it. Many of my friends later were laughing and saying, "Oh, you must have known about the topic. Look at how you have been dressing." I said, "Okay, we never know, but I knew it or not." But we did laugh. And there are many little things that we can observe, be it while you were coming in that day in the morning, what happened. Let's be more present. When you were eating something, when someone was talking, or when you were getting into an auto, when you were getting out of the auto, when someone was serving you something, when someone was looking at you, or whatever happened can be an example for you. And these are not only tips for what to do on the day of contest, but let's be more aware about things around us, because that is where your stories are going to come from. When we are going to build a story bank, people often ask me, and it happens to me, that I don't have a sad story. You know, why sad stories? Because we root for sad stories. When we come across vulnerable, when we tell that this is what I faced, and this was such a tough time for me, and I've come out of it, people will say, yes, I really hope you come out of it. And if I say, oh, wow, I've been great, I've been doing well, and I have always been a wonderful, confident person, we don't want to be an arrogant person on stage. Nobody's going to like you. Yes, one person that we need to be is ourselves. When we are on stage, be you. And like someone said, if you are arrogant and you are full of yourself, then pretend to be someone else. Only in that case, pretend to be someone else. Otherwise, just be you and be there. And in being there, in being you, you are also being vulnerable. And I feel that is a big thing. When you are being vulnerable, when you are bringing those emotions, and those emotions are giving you a story, that is a story from your life. That is your story. Maybe you're going to tell people a deep secret from your past. Maybe how you were treated as a child. Maybe you got beaten up. Maybe you were not provided for. It could happen. And it's something that when you say it with a lot of expressions, because it is yours, when something happened, when you were in an accident, if it's a sad topic, but it's a happy topic, you can bring all the happiness. When you saw a grasshopper, I would be happy. Or if you're reminded of Baloo. Once there was a topic when they asked me how ambitious one needs to be. And the other day I had sat down with my daughter and watched The Jungle Book. And I remembered about Baloo. And I said, I am Baloo. So ambition and me are a little far apart. So in a table topic contest, you don't always have to go with the topic. If you look at the topic and the emotion is, I don't really agree with it, you can go against it too. Many times people have said that in contest, if you go against the flow, you might be different and judges might find it more interesting. I don't really subscribe to that theory. I say play it by the ear. When you get a topic, look for association, look for the emotion. What do you feel? And that you will get your story. And just go with the story that you got. and make it into a sandwich and present it. Is it me, or I've not been able to see the screen, green screen? So I'm just trying to find out how much time. If I'm missing the green screen, please let me know. Because late after the green screen, I would be opening it up for questions. So how much time do we have till how far are we? Okay, I have good time. Okay, thank you. Okay, the green screen has come too. Okay, so wonderful. So far, if you have any questions, or if there's something that you would like to ask me, now is the time. Yes, Gopal, please, Toastmaster Gopal.
Yes, Smita. I have a question. When we are coming up on the stage and whatever the topic is being given, sometimes it happens that you are not at all aware about the topic. What kind of topic is this? In that case, what should we do? For example, you took an example of that Boy John 1993. If the same topic is given to me, I don't know what is Boy John, what is 1993, how it is related to it with each other. In that case, what should be the way to handle, to tackle such situation?
Excellent question. So when we have a topic that we have no clue about, and that has happened with me too. So what do? Take a word, Boyzone. So maybe boy or zone. Boyzone is a band. Maybe I did not know about it, but you think boy, if we are talking about boys, so what do boys do? And if you had read 1993, so 1993, what happened? Did you grow up in that time? Were you in school at that time? So if it's only boys in 1993, as someone, you could still have a lot to say. Speak as about boys in 1993. What were they doing? Maybe in that time you were in school, maybe in school. What's coming to my mind is boys who were trying to go out and for the first time try cigarettes and sneaking out of school. So I would probably build a story about rebelling boys who were trying to do different things, and in my school what happened and what those boys did and my experience from school. That is something I'd pull out. As I said, grab the words, let's dissect it, and whatever words you get, and then we think of something, boy, and what is coming to you next with the boy. It could be your school, it could be anything. So with that, any feeling what's the feeling that a boy's zone is giving you? Boys, maybe boys in the gully or boys doing something. It is going to, like, you think of the emotion with it. The boys, you thought of boys in the neighborhood. Were they good? Were they bad? Were they eve teasing? What happened in 1993 in the neighborhood that you lived? And you can tell a story about that. Forget about the complete topic. As long as you have a story which has some of the words, it's going to be a good story. I hope I answered your question.
Yes,
Okay.
one more question.
Yeah, please.
Like you mentioned that sandwich approach where there is bread, juice, and again bread. But in impromptu speech where we have to play by the ear, and there is no way or there is no thinking in the mind that what we have to speak and what story is to come. For me, it happens like that. If I have to start anything, then I within those 2 minutes I start thinking that what should I speak, and sometimes it is not structured. It happens with me. Then how we can think of that sandwich approach that we have to first bread, then juice, then bread?
Okay, excellent question. Forget the sandwich. If it happens with you, forget the sandwich. Just grab at the words. Whatever story comes, begin it and end it. You come again on the stage and come again on the stage. When you start coming, you will notice there's a structure. Okay. You will notice that you have a structure already, and how you began when you had some words and you said, this is what comes to my mind. And you talk about your school. So something, and then what happened in your school, that's more important in your story. You will tell a story, and then you will end it like, okay, and this is what I understood from it, and you conclude it. So the structure becomes more apparent. It appears after we have been there for a longer time.
Practice.
So, yes, it's definitely practice. And the structure will be more clear to us as we listen to other people too. We can see how they began and how they are weaving in the story. It's simply a story. Anything that we are sharing is a story. So when we tell a story to our children, we will tell them what happened in the beginning. And then the major thing, a fight or something happens, something changes there, and then they end. So unless we have a twist in the plot, it's not going to be very interesting. But in the beginning, as a beginner table topic master, don't even worry about having a twist or having something changing or having something interesting. As a beginning table topic person, what I would say is that you have a story, you share it. If you have another story coming or another example coming, share 2 examples. It doesn't have to be one big example for the whole topic. You have said something and then you can say another example that's related closely is this and share it. And then the ending bread can be simply like, this is what it made me feel. Again, your emotions from all of it. This is what it means to me. And how does it sound to you? And you can always end it with, what do you say, table topic master? And that becomes a good way of ending and putting that last bread.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gopal. Yes,
Yes.
Toastmaster Chintan, yes.
So thank you for giving so much insights, but I have been inspired by many world champions, and one day I was listening to Dhananjaya, who was a person because of whom I am here, and he was once mentioned that there is a principle called recency, that you have to end your speech with a bang. So if you go with bread, juice and bread, if you end with a bread, then I find it a bit conflicting that how to end in a way that it gives a lasting impression and people would go mull over, or people have something to call for an action or something to think about the speech. So can you just enlighten us? Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. That's a really great thing that you have come up with. I'm telling you to go with a bread, juicy thing in between the cheese and tomatoes and then another bread. That's a structure that helps us that we don't keep the juicy thing only for the end. Doesn't mean that the bread is not interesting. The bread is not stale. So the bread is also good. The bread is also something that you need. So it's going to keep your juicy thing intact. However, I agree, when you are giving a speech, conclusion has to be also sticky. You can't say, okay, I've said everything and this is what it means to me, and that's it. So it can't be flat. It has to be something, because say, the opening has to be really great. Hooking to, you have to hook people. Otherwise, you have lost them in the beginning, no matter how juicy. Whatever comes in between, you don't care. Nobody is care. Everybody's in their Facebook or in Instagram. These days, you lose people like this. So you have to hook them in the beginning, keep them hooked all through. And in the end, why it's more necessary for them to remember you later. After you, someone else will come and they'll forget you. But what is it that you said in the end? That's only thing that they are going to remember. Oh, that Chintan said this. So what is it that you said? So your conclusion should be everything you said in a nutshell. So everything you said in a nutshell is what they are going to remember. If Dhananjay had the line that, I'm forgetting his line, I see someone.
I see something in you.
I see something in you. So he ended with, I see something in you. And so what is it that you are giving to the people? So bring it again out. And this is something you can bring towards competitions when you're looking there, that how to make it better from here. How can I make it different from here? But when you're simply trying to be yourself and discovering yourself, don't give yourself that pressure that I have to make my conclusion sticky. And in fact, what has worked with me also as someone who's been into contest, so I've never really bothered that my conclusion has to be sticky. I have just felt like, what is the emotion I'm getting? What's my story? And how do you connect? I ask people, I feel they are there to listen to me. And once I've told my story, I ask them, does it mean anything with you? Does it resonate with you? Asking question is another thing that you can try, that this is what it means to me. But you have to give that in the end, that this is the gist, this is the meaning. If you have not listened to me so far, just this last 30 seconds is what is the gist is. Give me that gist. So everybody will remember you. Oh, his speech was about that. So probably you can try that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chintan.
And just one line, if I may. That,
yeah, sure.
You have rightly mentioned that another video of Mohammad Khatani, he was a world champion. He was mentioning that he gave a very practical example that when we see YouTube, there are only 5 seconds to skip the video. So you have only 5 seconds, and now the power of attention of people are decreasing. Their attention span is decreasing. So you have to hook them up. So you are very right, and I would try your suggestions.
Thank you, Chintan. Yes, Dishant.
So I have one question in the sense that on multiple occasions I screwed my speeches. So every time what I feel that whenever I get a chance that this time I will rock it. And what happened that just before few minutes before the speech, what I found that I am confident. But when I tried to deliver the speech at that time, all the confidence that I gained before it totally lost. My mind is totally blank, and all the negative thoughts start coming this time, and I don't know how to work on that.
Wonderful question, Dishant. And I will tell you that you are not alone. Many people face that, especially even seasoned Toastmasters feel that. And I will tell you a personal story here before I answer your question. Is once I was the first runners up, people asked me, "Are you going to contest again? Are you going to take part again?" I said, "Yes, why not?" So, what if you don't win in the club, or what if you don't win in the area? You are first runners up, and the first thing that came to me was about the sports teams. Does India only play cricket once with other players? We keep going, we keep losing some, we keep winning some. Don't hook yourself with what you have got or what you have lost, because we are always here for learning. The major point is Toastmasters is a very safe place. I feel that there's no safer place than Toastmasters. You are here, you can speak for 2.5 minutes. In prepared speeches, you get more time. You can just continue to speak whatever. Nobody's going to stop you unless and until something objectionable you are saying. Even then, they will tell you report is coming out later. So you have that time. People will even applaud you. It doesn't happen. When you get married, you will know how it happens. So this is the place where you can come and speak out everything and enjoy that applause. So make mistakes here. That is the place to be not confident. When you go out in the world and people are judging you, that is the more reason that you have to be focused, that I should not lose my confidence. Here you come out, make mistakes. That's why this place is. So feel safe that, oh, okay, it's okay if I fumble, if I do not have enough words, if I fail, because we are all here for that. We are all here for learning. Did I answer your question, Dishant?
Yeah, in some sense, but I think the more is that I need to work on.
I
The
feel
more,
don't fear the failure. It's okay.
yeah, here I can try, but on contrary, the things become difficult when in the official environment.
At Toastmasters, it's always easy, I feel.
Yeah,
Eh,
yeah.
Yeah, so
Instead of here, it's like a practice match you can play, and
yeah.
then you have to deliver in the office.
So you will get ready. So be there more often. And if you are, as you said, you screw it more often here. When you go out in the world, you'll be ready. You'll be fine. And many times I've seen that when people go blank or with them, they don't know what to say, they say, "I'm really sorry." Why do we have to be sorry? Many people can go blank. I have gone blank once, and I looked at people and I had no clue about what I was going to say. I was an evaluator, and I took time and I got back. So if you falter, take time and come back. Everybody is rooting for you. If you're losing confidence, it's okay. Just tell yourself, it's okay. I'll come back here, and you don't have to be sorry about your performance. We are here to learn. So keep at it.
Yeah. Is there any technique other than practicing that when you go to the stage and you totally become blank and cloudy, all thoughts become, so is there any technique that I can work on that, for example, meditation or something else? Because every time, so when I ask this question, everyone says that practice. Okay, because definitely practice will make you perfect, but there are techniques that will improve in a faster way.
Okay, I'll share a technique that I use with children when I'm helping them out, and I'll show this. This is a Batman, right? So you all might have a superhero. I like Batman a lot, so I carry him around. So maybe it's Wonder Woman for you or Superman for you. Look at how he stands. Look carefully. Are his feet close together? When you stand, if you're in a physical meeting, I want you to stand like a superhero with your feet balanced on the stage, that you are sure. And then again, stand like this hero of yours with your chest out. And you can do something before you're called on stage. This is called a power pose. You feel powerful when you're open. Rather than sitting closed and worrying about what's going to come up, this is like, I'm scared, right? You have to sit more open and more relaxed. And you should look up Amy Curry's power pose.
Yeah,
You can,
I already watched it. Yeah.
okay. So you can try the power pose. I teach it to the children for a minute. If you keep your hands on your hips and keep your feet apart, it's a Wonder Woman's pose. And stand there, be mindful of your own breath, as our beautiful TM Modi has told us. Stand there, you're more yourself, you're sure of yourself. You can tackle anything. You are the superhero if you feel like that. So when you are walking up there and looking at people and you've done the power pose, there's nothing that you can come and destroy you. I hope I have answered. Yeah. All right. Are there any other questions? So the time's up. I see the red screen and I think we have done with the question and answer session. It was really very interesting to be here today, to have answered your questions. I will end with the note that when you are on stage, be you. Be transparent. Let the people see you. If you falter, that's fine. If you cry, it's fine. When you smile, smile. So be yourself and people will like you. They will see you. If you try to fake it, they will know. So be yourself. If you're unsure, be unsure. And they will want you to be more sure the next time you come. So be yourself each time you are on stage. Thank you.